Hello everyone, readers and listeners and viewers, and welcome today to this podcast that I was called to make in relation to Ascension, light body activation, releasing our karma, ascending, our happiness, and how it correlates with our humanity, with our being. And really the reason I wanted to talk about this is I think so many people have both come to me or, just sat and talked about it. We are going to ascend, we are moving into higher frequencies, we are going to leave the old behind, something akin to evangelical Christian idea of rapture, that we're going to be taken up and the old world will be no more. And very often these talks and ideas come from a place of deep dissatisfaction with reality as is, and with the burden of having to carry the wounds and the traumas, right, with fighting maybe depression, anxiety, or the effects of previous trauma, of having grown up in a very traumatic childhood, having gone through a very traumatic childhood, having grown up in a very challenging environment, a war zone perhaps, or a country where lots of changes, revolutions, etc. have been happening. And I mean, we've all been through that in our own way. Many of those who are now following the path of spiritual development, of soul work, have gone through horrible childhoods, horrible time growing up, abuse, parents, environment that didn't understand us, life that was absolutely, it seemed like a curse, that we have done something wrong and we're really placed here on earth as a punishment. So I think many of us have a tendency to see the spirituality, ascension, evolution, as a way of escaping this pain, of something that will finally take us up, out from the body, out from what is really very painful and unpleasant, and something that, contradicts our view of the divine as good, because in the embodiment, we have often not experienced so many good things, or at least that's what our minds often tell us, I think, on some level, because many people have asked me, well, when am I finally going to break the cycle of incarnations? When am I finally escaping? And I think I myself have, written and said that, starseeds have done an incredible service by incarnating. And I'm wondering if I too have been thinking about, well, all this life on earth and all this physical incarnation is very yucky, and our ascension means going up, being raptured into something where we finally don't have to live in bodies, don't have to be on earth, where we can finally be with God, and there are no borders, no polarity, no duality, and we are one with our twin flame and one with God, and all this division and separation and labor and toil and having to wash floors and make a living, all of that will finally go away. And I've come to believe that if we try to avoid doubt, avoid fear, avoid desire, try that for a week even. Try living without doubt, fear, desire, what you perceive as negativity. And see how difficult it is to force yourself to always do the correct thing, what you perceive as what you should be doing. I have exhausted myself, trying to meditate every morning and keeping myself in a state of this artificial enlightenment, the sense that, well, now I am spiritual, so now I can't be angry, I can't be upset, now I can't doubt, and I can't, God forbid, slip into separation. Once, if I don't perceive the world as one anymore, it means I've slipped. I need to meditate more, practice more, seek more. And of course, it was very tiring. So by the end of the week, I was exhausted and I wanted to go out and party. Because this fight of should and what we should be doing is a very exhausting fight. But instead, when I tried just allowing my doubts and desires, just not fighting them, just letting them flow, observing them, even in meditation, sometimes I'm just sitting and observing such a chaos of thoughts for 20 minutes. And the temptation is to get up and think, well, I haven't meditated. It's a disaster. I'm not meditating. Nothing is happening. I'm just observing a chaos of thoughts. I have like 55 different threads, and they're just coming up and coming up and coming up. And I'm sitting here for 20 minutes and nothing is happening. But the truth is that is meditation. That is meditation. If I sit there and I observe for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, that my thoughts are a mess, or not even that judgment, but I observe the mess of my thoughts. But after 30 minutes, these thoughts are gone. They're not even interesting or have any sort of pull, engagement anymore. I've been observing them, and after those 30 minutes, I'm actually free. These thoughts don't matter anymore. So it was a much more successful meditation than if I'd been sitting for 30 minutes imagining I was one with the universe and achieved a state of permanent enlightenment. You know what I mean? The ego can get very tricky until we reach a certain high level, can get very tricky and can trick us into thinking that, well, if I'm not perfect, then I'm not doing it right. If I don't wake up at 4 o'clock and, have a 3-hour practice, then it's not worth doing it at all. Because then I blew it. All or nothing thinking. And it's not the truth. It has nothing to do with being spiritual or being successful or being enlightened. So the best meditation can be the one where you are just observing how much nonsense your mind brings up. But you get up and that awareness, that is something, that you're not your mind. You can actually watch those thoughts and say, oh, gosh, well, I didn't know I had it all in me, but there it is, okay. And I'm free now to go and live the rest of my day. And it may be a much more successful meditation than, bringing in that sense of peace and thinking ourselves enlightened. And maybe we are and maybe we're not. But all that comes is sacred. You can be. You can let yourself be in any circumstance, in any place. think about people you encounter on the streets, or let's say a dog, or a drunk, or thieves you meet on the street, or smoking people, or I don't know what. They don't make you bad just because you meet them. If you meet an obnoxious person in your workday, for example, in a meeting, in public transport, they don't make you bad. They don't even make your day bad. You just meet them. And all of us have a body, hormones, in addition to an enlightened mind. So our fears and our desires are an expression of that body. So, if we try not to notice it, it's like trying not to notice what's happening around you on the street, even if you see a homeless person or a drunk, and you're saying, well, it's not mine, it cannot be mine, it cannot be me because I am enlightened. But in truth, what is happening is that only the mind is enlightened. But we are denying the body. If I sit and meditate and think, well, I cannot be thinking those thoughts because they can't be me. I cannot be so petty, so jealous, so envious, so lustful, whatever it is that is coming up. It can't be me. It's not mine. I am enlightened. But I may be enlightened intellectually, but my body is not there yet. Because I'm denying the body. Because the emotions, the desires are being put into, deep, dark corners, somewhere in the closet, in the subconscious. But they're still there. And they are upset. And they are going to get out at every opportunity. Because the body is upset with this enlightened mind. And the enlightened mind is upset with the body. And this could be the reason why many, spiritual people, or let's say so-called spiritual people, have such big problems with health, money, friends, partners. They can't maintain a relationship. They can't keep a job. Money keeps leaving. Everything is a mess because there is this dichotomy, split between the mind and the body. The physical is bad, wrong, dark, and the mind is enlightened. But why do I call it so-called spiritual? Well, I believe in this time and day, we are moving up dimensions. We're going into the fourth, fifth dimension, and this is the time for us to finally marry the polarities, to unite the duality. This is no longer the time to deny the physical. What we're doing now, the task, the major thing that we are doing is uniting the polarities. That's why for some, this path of ascension, the path of spiritual development, started with meeting their deep soul connections, their twin flames, because it's a direct representation of the other polarity, a reminder of the denied inner male or inner female. And that's why some of those activations have been so painful. But as a collective and in different ways, we're all moving to the fourth and fifth dimension. And this is the time when we unite the physical and the spiritual. So ascension, and I've been saying that before, ascension is not about rapture, about being taken up from the physical. It's about bringing heaven onto earth. It's the yin flow. It's the flow, the receptive flow. We're bringing light into the physical. Life in spirit is only half a life. Life in the body is the other half. So what we're doing is bringing spirit into the body that thinks and doubts and still has an enlightened mind. A body that receives light, that emits light, that is divine, even in every desire and doubt. And I remember I had this moment in Jerusalem when I was still, identifying as a Catholic Christian. I was practicing as a Catholic Christian. And I remember I was walking from the Garden of Gethsemane through the Valley of the Shadow of Death and up to the excavations of the house of Caiaphas. And it came to me so vividly, and it was Holy Thursday, so, very, very vivid, very real, very active. It came to me so vividly that Jesus wasn't this, icon painted character, the Son of God who had legions of angels at his disposal and who stood on the mountain and who never sinned in his life, whatever that meant. I actually saw Jesus as a man. And I remembered that even in that Christian theology, he was 100% God and 100% man. And for the record, I still agree with that. I just see it a little bit differently in that he embodied what we are all called to embody, because we can all embody the divinity, right? But theology aside, it was the first time I actually saw him as 100% man. There he was, Jesus, and I felt it so acutely, that, the doubt, the pain, what am I going to do? And I was going through my own crisis at the time. So I really connected with that utter lostness, and I realized that there was that point when he didn't know what was going to happen. He had no idea if he was going to rise again from the dead, be transformed, ascend into a different body, into a different reality. He had no idea. All he knew was, this is it. This is the end. I'm going to die and there is no escape and I'm terrified and I don't know what is going to happen. And that doubt, that was real. It wasn't some theological argument about whether I am taking on the sins of the world and how does it make me feel, and, well, am I going to pay for the sins of everyone or not? There it was, very real, and I felt it for myself. And I thought, but I can't die to myself. You could. But I can't, because this symbol of crucifixion is, of course, the universal symbol of ego death for all of us, of this letting go of control. And I was walking down through that valley of the shadow of death. It's the ancient cemetery grounds, basically, in Jerusalem, under the city walls, next to the Garden of Gethsemane. So I was walking through that place, going up that like 2,000-year-old stairs. And I was talking to Jesus, saying, but, you could die. I don't have it in me. You had it. I don't. I can't die to myself. I just can't. I won't. I refuse this. I'm not going to do this thing. I refuse it. I'm going to suffer and fight, but I can't. I'm sorry. There is just no way. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. And that's when I realized this was exactly what he was going through at the time. The very real doubt. We like to idolize, Jesus and Buddha and, maybe our favorite teachers. They become icons, two-dimensional, black and white. But they were also real people with their real moments of doubt. And they transcended and won with all of that, with the whole body, with its doubts and its moments of, no, I'm not going to do, I'm never going to surrender. I refuse. There is no way. And when I saw Jesus like that, I realized, it didn't make me a theologically aligned Christian anymore, but it made me connect with him and love him in a very different way, a way I never knew, I never understood before. He became a friend, someone who could lead the way, someone who's been there before. So, when we think that, well, I want to be like Jesus, I want to be like Buddha, it's good not to fall into the trap of the mind. We can't forget that, the beginning is acceptance of the physical, of the body, and especially in the Eastern teaching, we accept the body first and then the spirit. We go from the earth up. So we can't select the spiritual development while denying the body, the physical, the material, the nitty-gritty. We often go into the spiritual exploration because our physical life has become a disaster, to put it mildly, because nothing's going right anymore. And the bodies and, the personality starts thinking, well, I'm a loser. I'm completely useless. So I'll go into the spiritual life. I'll become spiritual. Well, guess how that goes. I mean, it goes for a while, but it doesn't, on this premise, it doesn't do anything to improve the physical situation. Because the path is marrying the duality. We accept the spirit, yes, but we also ascend. We make our body divine. We rise our body to the level of the spirit. So we receive the spirit, we receive the divine, but we also rise up to the divine. So we both worship the God outside and the God within. That is enlightenment. That is what I am striving for, what I hope we all are striving for, and that this is our path, marrying that duality. That we always have that God. Because, again, people who have tried avoiding the physical at the expense of the spiritual, they say, my life just is an utter disaster, it's a mess, so I'm going to become spiritual. And they are very ungrounded. They cannot connect to earth, to their roots. They refuse, and they say, well, I'm bad, I'm failing, I don't know, I screw spirituality, I'll go back to drugs and drinking and whatever. Because the aim was to ascend, to leave, to become Buddha, to become an avatar and sit on the mountain. One person actually said that to me for real. But I'm thinking, becoming Jesus and connect to that suffering, connect to the earth, to transmute that suffering and heal through that. That was the path that I think I chose as the spiritual path, as the way of raising my vibration, acknowledging the body. And And we talk about starseeds and, having come to Earth to help raise its vibration, help ascension, help change the templates and the structures of the planet Earth right now. But a teacher told me that recently that we're not here as, on a working trip to change something, to bring information and run off. But maybe we're here to become Earth souls, to marry our star soul with our Earth body, so that we can bring those higher vibrational energies to Earth, to ground them, to actually ground into Earth through our suffering. Our suffering is very often that which grounds us, and for very advanced souls, it may be the only thing that grounds them. And we can talk about that at some later point. But the wounds, the suffering is that which is grounding, that which is in the body. So this connecting to Earth, marrying to Earth, loving Earth, because we wanted to be with Earth, because we just told her as to a lover, I want to be with you forever. I love you. So I'm not here on a crazy mission of saving, ascending, transforming the world, and then escaping into the world of the stars, leaving all those earthlings behind. Oh, thank God. And I saw that as such a beautiful parable, or such a beautiful picture, falling in love with Earth so much that we chose to make it our home, because we love her and we want to be with her no matter what. Because we chose to keep our wounds as our memory of the most beautiful thing that happened to us, our earthly incarnation. So with that, I want to tell you, love your body, nourish your connection to Earth. Say thank you to the Earth for being our home, to your body for serving you so well, to the sea and the stars and the air and the heat and the sun. And appreciate the mind, the thoughts even that, may have distracted you or put you off meditation, saying, well, I'm never going to meditate again because I can't fight my thoughts. You were never supposed to fight your thoughts or fight your body. So our path is the path of uniting polarities, not separating them further. So I wish you many blessings, and until next time, with much love, bye.